So we are now recording. So good afternoon and happy 2023, everybody. Welcome to the Indicator Behavior Subproject monthly meeting. I'm Charlie Frick from Johns Hopkins Applied Physics Lab, your current chair and host. And as we're starting off a new year on the subproject, I wanted to bring up a couple general points for this effort, and also have a bit of conversation on where we're going next. And so it looks to me, normally I try and introduce any new faces, but I believe we have all repeat traffic today. So in lieu of that, one thing I wanted to remind everybody is our GitHub site on the OCA GitHub is active, and I will real quickly throw that link in our chat again. So just for those that wanted a reminder that our presence is up here on GitHub. And I mention this because if anybody is interested in volunteering to be an additional maintainer, right now myself and Kurt Karolenko are the maintainers for the repository, but I'm very open to having, in addition, like in the spirit of collaboration, love to have an additional maintainer from a separate organization. So if anyone's interested, please feel free to reach out and we can discuss. But just want to keep the options open to everybody so that it's not our intent here at the Applied Physics Lab to gobble up all ownership on the effort. We're just the first set of volunteers as we're getting the repos put together. But throwing that out there. What I really wanted to discuss for a little bit of time today, and this may be one of our shorter calls, but as we've been transitioning to a sub-project for the Open Cybersecurity Alliance, it's been a goal to help foster some of the collaboration across the other sub-projects for the Alliance, and towards that, we've had a few requests come in. One has been to make a few updates to our how to collaborate and join us sections of the repository page. I'm actively working that with Kurt, and we'll be having some samples put up hopefully in the next few weeks for everyone to take a look at, and we'll be very open to any edits that folks would like. But a bigger issue has been a request that we provide some use cases for the indicator behaviors. And so we've been working on that. I was hoping to be able to share a summary document with everybody today, but we're still, with the holiday time, there was a little bit of delay in us getting our public release on it. So hopefully definitely by next month's meeting, we should have a document together that includes information on the use cases. But our goal is to have a short narrative description of some use cases along with some process charts, and we're looking to represent all of these in Cacao playbook format as well as the BPMN and some UML to describe what's going on. And while I can't show the use cases right now, I thought I would at least verbally share with the group, and please feel free to ask questions or interrupt. But we're looking at right now to start off with about 6 main use cases. So there's one for the creation of these behavior objects. There's a use case for how to share the objects. Now, a lot of that's going to be some very standard, since we've been heavily using Stix and Taxi. There's a lot that can, come through there. We're also looking at ideas of how a broker might format a shared behavior set of behaviors for our community. I thought that might be a useful use case. And then also looking at a receiver point of view, how one receives these sets of behaviors, how they might be able to, and how they might customize various parts in there, namely the detections, correlations, and mitigations. The goal here will be for us to get that first set, and I want to say it's a candidate set of use cases shared through the Slack channel and the listserv, because we are very open to having the entire community here share thoughts on what we should be adding, how we should be modifying those. But we wanted to provide a first step for us to edit. And I thought I'd pause for a moment and see if anyone had some initial thoughts or questions on overall use cases for these indicators of behavior, because I'm happy to take some early feedback if there's a case that you think is really critical that I didn't just mention.
So
go ahead, Jason.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, at a high level, those actually sound pretty good. And they're, but as use cases go, they are pretty high level. But I guess that's kind of intentional, because you're like, I can't really release all of the
Yeah,
right?
There'll be a good bit more detail in the next week or two. As soon as I was really hoping to have those final release checks done right before the holiday, and they didn't make some vacation schedules didn't play out, which is why I'm standing here with some egg on my face, having to talk about it so generally right now.
No, that's okay. But you said 6 main use cases, and I was writing them down, and I only counted 4. But maybe I didn't split them up well.
Yeah. So I was saying creating the bundles, sharing them, reformatting the overall bundle for a broker, then actually I got 7 as I'm reading over here. And then I had receiving, and then I did a separate case for customizing detections, customizing correlations, and customizing mitigations. Because my initial view,
those last, I was like, you couldn't have split all 3 because that's 7, but it was 7. Okay, that makes more sense now. I was like, I'm counting either 4 or 7, not 6. So thank you.
Reading and talking at the same time apparently is a struggle area for me as well.
I understand that completely. That's why I just wanted clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. Yes, Harley.
Yeah, Charlie, I was just wondering, have you considered the updating of the bundle, how you update and distribute, and when new CTI or behaviors information is available, and then how that is consumed and processed?
That's a very, very good point. And once I have some of the detail, that deserves its own case. And some of the ideas we were looking at as how a broker would format the bundle, I think it's a different case, but a similar one that we should build out. So that definitely is an important one, and thank you for that. And Jason, I think I cut you off at the very beginning of this.
No, I was just asking for clarification that, so you're looking for, just trying to make sure we have all the different edge cases, corner cases covered and documented.
Correct. And I wasn't trying to force anybody to finalize a decision on this call, but since as soon as I have the greater set of use case documentation released to share through the Slack and the GitHub, just saying I'd greatly appreciate feedback and comment so that we can maybe work some of this and get a second cut at it discussed at next month's meeting on top of our usual technical talks. But And so that Harley's idea about the update case, I'll get folded in there too. But
So Charlie, I'm really interested in the
Hey.
specific applications that want to use the bundles. Is because we're not really going down that path. Are we interested in lists of those things?
I am, Carter, very much.
So I'm
Uh,
really interested in autonomous learning of
Mhm.
behaviors, and I think there are lots of applications to that. I'd like to get that on the list. I don't know if that gets on the bottom or the middle of the list.
Yeah, I'm taking the notes down now, and I'm probably going to follow up with you more directly to see how to say it right. But yes,
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I agree, because there's something. I'm going to listen on the call. I'll say it wrong, but there's something along. I was thinking about not just creating the bundles, but there is something about the identification of behavior.
Yeah. Well, it's just the utility.
Or-
Bundle utility is gonna, demand a couple of new characteristics. And I think there are a family of consumers of these things that we could probably enumerate. So I'm very happy to contribute to a list of that.
Wonderful. I'm just taking some notes down. And like I said, it's going to be, like I said earlier, it'll be a shorter call today. But I do want to say, just for those of you that aren't, if any of you aren't on the Slack, I really recommend it, because I do think as we have more discussion on this, I'll try and keep most of that talk on the IOB channel on the OCA Slack, so that everyone can view it and chime in as they see fit. So be worth checking in every couple days or so if you're not logged in regularly. For those of you that spend all day on Slack, I apologize for the notifications. But just wanted to not steamroll through too fast, but I know there's not a lot to discuss at the level I'm at this moment. But if anyone had additional like big areas on this topic you want to make sure get covered in the realm of use cases, I'm all ears. And just waiting a good beat. Okay, not to belabor it too heavily. I also wanted to kind of go through a couple open discussion areas. So one thing I wanted to let everybody know is the minor, a very minor mea culpa, but something that I'm going to be working with the rest of the Alliance on over the coming weeks is, as we phrase the tech talks, we're going to work on some policy on how we select some of our speakers. There's a little concern that that some of the things I've brought up in the past might be a little too vendor centric. So we're going to make sure that we're not going down that route. The intent was to more focus on areas in processing of threat intel that to get an idea of the types of things that we'll need to support and interact with for these objects. But we want to make sure that we really focus on the open part of this Open Cyber Alliance and not inadvertently bias towards any one vendors over the other. So as we do that, as we work on some of those kind of guidelines, once they're decided upon with the technical steering committee, we'll obviously definitely be sharing those guidelines when it comes to how we want to work on selecting speakers. That said, I will do a quick plug that I was discussing with Carter not to steal your thunder, Carter, but I know that you've been looking at some ideas for behaviors to generate for some current work that you're doing. And I definitely think that insights and ideas that are coming from you're looking at those behaviors is critical to not just our use cases, but changes to the structure. And I think that'll be a really useful conversation to have next month.
Yeah, I'd like to present at least the 4 families of behavioral indicators that I'd like to work on in the group. So, and it's all about trying to support learning for unknown behaviors, determining unknown behaviors and just trying to understand anomalous behavior. So I'd love to give a 15, 20-minute little introduction to that next month, if you think that's good.
I would love to have you do
Oh,
it.
great, thanks.
So,
I'd
so
love
that,
to do
so that's our technical talk for February.
that. Well, not the whole
That'll be-
thing, maybe part
No,
of it.
it'll be part of it. That
Okay.
and the phantom use cases, I should most definitely be able to actually hand the group some documentation to see beforehand and
Okay.
during the meeting, so that you're not listening to me staring over on my other monitor at a UML diagram that I'm not currently allowed to put on share screen.
Great.
That
So,
sounds great. That sounds great, Carter.
Yeah, it's some work that we're doing with ARL and it's got some
Which-
NATO, the Army
which-
Research Lab and NATO. And so it's one of those things where it's a little bit of science fiction and science fact at the same time. So I think it'll be a really interesting little introduction.
awesome.
Yeah.
Alrighty. And outside of that, just for general IOB news, now that we're a sub-project, I did get to join the technical steering committee for OCA to comment. So that said, the December meeting was a little sparse. It was just me and Zhao Kui. So I kind of gave him a primer on our project and the work we're doing. And I think there's, Jason, you might not put you on the spot. I think there's a TSC meeting sometime towards the end of January. Does that sound right?
There's usually one a month.
Yeah, I thought they were normally at the last Monday or Tuesday of the month,
Yeah.
or near there.
I'd have to check on my the calendar. I really don't know off the top of my head when it is.
Fair enough. But as those get a little bit more populated, we'll have some more updates, because I do want to see what areas will fit well. Of course, for Oasis, we definitely, as we're refining the structure and the behavior stuff, it is the intent to put together a more formal request to the STIX project on getting support for for our custom objects. We're just trying to make sure we actually are agreed on the structure ourselves, so that we don't have to come to them multiple times. But I definitely see a lot of opportunity for our work and the Cacao and Kestrel projects as well.
Yeah, I
You
think
know-
that makes a lot of sense. I know that we're kind of getting off topic. I know that Zhao Kui is talking about rescheduling the call because to make it work better for Claudia's time zone. So I'm not sure if that's why it disappeared or not.
That's
but-
right. Yeah, sorry, you're right. As I've been cleaning out the New Year's inbox, that all just triggered now as soon as you said that. But regardless, we'll start looking for some more opportunities on how we can, find opportunities to cross thread and support each other from the different initiatives, because I know this is all giant coalitions of the willing, and I'm grateful for all the support we have from all of you. And if anybody wants to try, I think, and are really interested in next month's talk with Carter on some of the things that he wants to try out. And I'm excited to see what we find from some of those efforts, because I imagine there'll be some interesting updates to how we want to look at this data. All righty. Then I will open the floor for a moment to see if there's any general discussion points. And I promise next month's talks will be a little bit longer, unless that drives down attendance, in which case I'll try to keep it at this pace. But are there any concerns or items open to the floor that anybody would like to discuss related to IOB work?
Hey, can I ask you a really stupid question? I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to
No, no,
interrupt.
no, you go first, Carter.
Yeah, what does it mean to transition from our previous state to our
Oh.
current state? What does that actually mean?
It meant that we're allowed to upload source code on the GitHub.
Yay.
It turned out by the bylaws, as a working group, we were allowed to upload documents, but not allowed to upload source code.
But
So-
does the organization a subgroup of what, and how does that kind of, fit into Oasis and all that kind of
So
stuff?
it mostly has to do, so Carter, it has to do with IP protections. It doesn't really change anything of substance to the group or how it's operating, but being having the actual designation of project means that, that anybody who contributes the code is digitally signed those ECLA forms that make sure that, everything is of a valid open source license and there are no patents attached to it, et cetera, et cetera. So it protects everyone in the community, protects Oasis. It just has to do with IP.
Well, having that sub in the front of it makes you want to work harder, so you're a real.
And I'll,
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's kind of the Open Cybersecurity Alliance is called an OCA or an Oasis Open Project.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the name of the whole organization. The entire organization itself is a project. And then under that, there are all these sub-projects. And we're now up to 6 different sub-projects in the OCA that are active, and potentially going to be 7 soon. So, every one of these sub-projects is pretty big. It's just, yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like naming nonsense, to be honest. I try not to.
Well, I thought it was pretty. I thought it was pretty cool because we're moving on up, So
Yeah.
I was just happy to finally get the little Python Neo4j script I wrote last year shared somewhere out of the my organization.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty important step from an IP perspective, but the naming part of it does create a little bit of confusion. But
I just think it's cool, so I just thought I'd ask.
So, and if, and obviously if anybody's, interested in having any like code or projects they're looking to submit, we'll be glad to take a look at any, Kurt and I definitely will review any merge requests made and try to respond in a timely manner. I'm on there pretty frequently. And if I don't respond in a timely manner, Claudia will send me a Slack message letting me know that I'm not responding in a timely manner. But
so the only other topic I was going to bring up was there's been some conversations I've seen. I watched I don't know if the best word is webinar, but it was an interview with one of the sponsors of the MITRE Attack Flow project. And some of the use cases for that project, and that's a project that we've been involved in as well for the phase 2, but we weren't really looking at it from this lens particularly. We were looking at it more of a way to share, attacker flows of attacker behavior. But this recent thing that I saw kind of tweaked my interest, and maybe there is even more of a use case for attack flow and some of the things we're trying to do here. And I just wondered, if what the general knowledge is of attack flow in this group, if it's of value, I could probably ping the leaders of that group and see if they wanted to give a presentation on attack flow over here.
I think we can sync up and talk about that. I mean, I know myself and some of our team at APL have been getting pretty familiarized with attack flow based on some of our talks in the past, Jason, and just also our organizations collaborate with MITRE and to a lesser extent MITRE Ingenuity on a semi-regular basis. And I do think there are some potential areas. Some of the things that we want to look at for detections and mitigations, I think there's some feature requests to make to attack flow that could make that a little bit easier. But in general, a lot of the attack flow steps, they're similar to the behaviors, but there's not as much on the detection and correlation because it's more about providing a description of the narrative. And I think there's also a few bits on the STIX export that we want to look at because of the way that they're currently incorporating some of their conditional logic on the sequencing.
Right.
That I think would be a valuable conversation to have. Because
Yeah, and I think it would go both ways. Like,
Yeah.
you know, attack flow, it's still a work in progress, right? There's still improvements to be made and will be made, right? So if there's good feedback about, like, you know, feature requests and things that maybe aren't exactly right, or, you know, taking some of the learnings of this work and bring it over there, to me, that's all good.
Yeah, and I, for full transparency, on one of my tasks that I work on, I've been having some technical exchanges with some MITRE staff that are supporting attack flow and bringing up the idea, but it's very nascent in the conversation. And I think probably this forum would be a better place to have that talk because I think there's a few people that would find it interesting.
Yep.
Thank you for bringing that up. Was there anything else you wanted to say, Jason? I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, that was it.
All righty. So floor is open to anybody that wants to take the mic. Always wait 5 seconds longer than you think is too long, just to be sure. And that said, it's a half meeting today. Thank you guys all very much. I'm hoping that we see a lot more we get to see a lot more progress in 2023. I think we've already come a long way. And you know, Carter, if I could, maybe we can be an Uber sub project by the end of 2023.
There you go. Hey, I didn't want to leave everybody in a mystery, but I'm going to talk about the Autonomous Intelligence Cyber Agent Reference Architecture from NATO next week and how we're trying to implement that in autonomous vehicles.
Can you say that out loud one more time so I don't have to wait to transcribe the video?
Yeah, it's called an Autonomous Intelligent Cyber Defense Agent.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a NATO standard, and ARL has been working on it since like 2019. Doesn't get much visibility, but it's a really interesting problem, and it needs some help to do the learning that it has in its design. So I'd like to just kind of introduce the concepts and what they call the AICA, and see if the group thinks it is an interesting topic.
Cool.
This is what you're going to talk about next. Did you say next week?
No,
No,
next meeting.
February.
Oh, next meeting. Okay.
Yeah. I could have said week, I meant meeting.
You got me super excited. Okay.
But yeah, but I know a lot of people are interested in looking up stuff just in case they can't come to the talk. But yeah, the AICA it's really interesting, and yeah, hopefully I'll try to get you guys interested in it.
I am eagerly awaiting it.
Great.
All right. Well, if that's the case, I'm going to stop the recording right now, and everybody continue to have a wonderful 2023, and we will see you in February or on the Slack or in the listserv.